Hello again. Did you miss me? I hope you miss me. Those of you who are subscribers and will know what I'm talking about. I needed to take a little break. It's not a mental health break or any of that. I'm okay. I had things to do. I've still got things to do, so these videos aren't meant to be as frequent as before. But in this episode, I'm going to show you a little trip that I did out into the Peak District. The plan was that I was going to get up before dawn and head out and get a glorious sunrise. But the weather forecast was dreadful, so I just decided I'll do it another day. Woke up, it's nice sunshine. So I've driven out here to the Peak District and I'm going to start this photo day out in Dove Holes, which I've always thought was a really boring, dull place with nothing around it. It's just quarry and a road going through it. But I've decided actually I should have a little look around and see what there is. And it's really interesting, the first thing I saw was that the sign that says Dove Holes seems to have had the holes painted over. So this place now is the beautiful town of Dove. Anyway, I need to load up my camera with some film. It's got the wide angle 17-40 lens on it because I want to try and get some nice wide landscapes. I've just got this ND filter on to protect the lens and I'm going to be taking that off. But I need to load up with some Ilford HP 5 Plus 400 speed film because I wasn't sure what the light was going to be like. Black and white, because I want to get something dramatic. And there we go, ready to go. So I didn't get very far, to be honest. I stopped almost as soon as I'd started off to take a picture of this nice little hilly area and the houses behind it. The light was a bit too diffuse. I needed some more hard shadows to make it stand out, but with a little bit of extra contrast added in Photoshop and a little bit of a crop, it still looks quite nice. The thing about Dove Holes is it really is just trucks going by. So much dust. The windows of these houses are just like covered in dust. And it's not just the windows, it's pretty much everything along this main street. This is true of the button to press for the pedestrian crossing. I've done a little bit in Photoshop here to increase the contrast and make the grime stand out against the button. I feel like I'm in the south of France right now. This is kind of right on the edge of the peaks, so it's a great place in terms of location, but it's just in the middle of nowhere. And there's the bus stop. I like pictures of bus stops. I'm all about travel. You might have seen the video I did about Stockport Interchange, which is a very big bus stop really. But I just like these ones in the middle of nowhere and the idea of waiting for something to take you away to something better or at least different. Actually, after taking this picture, I noticed that the one across the road was a lot more dramatic because it's actually opposite this one, but looking out over the hills. The edges of this are slightly soft as they are all the way through these images, and that's to do with the way I scanned it. If I wanted total sharpness, I would go digital. And there you can see Dove. The holes have been removed, which is kind of interesting. Should we go and find the station? Again, that would be lovely if I had a colour film because there's the orange suit just sort of goes really well with it, but sadly I don't. It would be nice if there's a train. Going to be a train? There it comes. Well, there's not a lot positive to be said about this one. You'd have to be a hardened train nerd to find this exciting. Well, with that shot of the train, I think we've exhausted Dove Holes' opportunities for today. I shall move on and see what else in the peak I can get a picture of. But before I do, let's just cut quickly back to the studio. Yeah, I have been away. What have I been doing? Well, I've actually been working on a book project called Ordinary Life, which is a look back at a generation of photographs, 20 years, starting in the year 2000, going through to 2019. Because in 2020, the world changed, so it seemed like a good chunk of time, that 20 years. I have also been out and about shooting more street photography, and I have invested in an Olympus XA2 of my own because I loved that one that I borrowed from Lucy. And something I'm planning to do, if she will go for it, is that me and Lucy might go out for a day with our cameras with the same film and do a little competition to see who can get the best pictures, because Lucy is a really good photographer as well. It's not what she does for a living, but she is very good at it. What else have I been doing? Well, I have been trying to re-establish myself a bit more professionally, trying to get some new clients, but you know, I am competing with people half my age and with half my responsibilities and probably twice as expensive a set of kit, so we'll see what happens. But let us crack on with the trip that I took out to the Peak District. So here we are on the second stop of the trip, and this is not far from Doveholes, and there's quarrying around here and there's some really nice opportunities for pictures. There's some sheep grazing over there and yeah, some houses just poking out from behind the rocks. So I think this might make a couple of nice pictures. Right, I think that's the first shot over there, those rocks. Try and get the sheep and the houses nestled in the rocks there. 180th F19. Sheep and quarry, bang in the middle. Don't want to go out too far now, then I get another one in. Let's go for that. So these are okay shots, but there's no detail in the sky, unfortunately. It was just bright and the 400 film wasn't really giving me anything back. I like the fence post coming out of the first shot. The second shot with the quarry and the sheep in front doesn't really sort of stand out as much as I thought it would. The last one is probably the most interesting, with the line of fence posts leading away and the houses poking out from behind the rocks. Possibly a rescan of this might be worth doing, because this softness around the edges doesn't kind of work with this image. Do you know, actually the texture on this bench is worth getting as well. If I can get in really close. See, it's got really interesting textures on it. I do need to be really close in. So yes, nice textures. It's nice to see the dandelion clocks by the side of this bench. Probably would be interesting just to go in a lot closer to the actual bench itself and see the grain of the wood. A little bit work in Photoshop just to give a little bit more bite to that gnarly wood, and you can see the nails coming out. But yeah, it's a nothing shot really. So after I'd taken these pictures, I wandered back along the side of this country road to where the quarry itself was, and where I'd seen some interestingly coloured trains loading up. So I'm pleased to say that the wagon, the train that I was going to take a picture of, is still there. So I'm going to try and get a higher vantage point up here, which is also away from the traffic. And yeah, that looks quite nice. There's just like a little strand of bush which I think I can get above, and that will make a nicer shot. So there we go. Do you see what I see? That looks like a good shot to me. I think this would look so much better in colour, but I've got black and white film, so there we go. Just remembered that I brought my Cameo with me with some gold in it. I've got this as like my backup camera for if my digital camera battery fails, or there's some reason, or the memory card has been forgotten. I just got a couple of shots, and I'm going to spend one of those on getting the lovely colours of those red wagons with the gravel behind, the yellow gravel and the green grass, and we'll see how that goes. Now there's a shot just up here which I think would be quite nice, because it's basically a road that goes to nowhere. And we're all on a road to nowhere, aren't we? So let's swing around and have a look at it. There we go. How about that? And here the trains are moving around, so you can see it going off into the distance. Fabulous. So I wandered back after I'd taken that picture and got in the car, and I drove off to Chapel on the Frith, which is the capital of the Peak District. It's not much of a capital, there's not a lot going on there, but there are a couple of things that are of interest to me. Okay, so coming to the end of my little trip out, this is my final stop, Chapel on the Frith. And why have I stopped here? This is like in the Peak, but it's not a beautiful countryside bit to take pictures of. But you know that bikes and all things automotive are my loves. And this is the home of brake linings from Ferodo. And there's also a really cool bike shop, well, trike shop actually, just down the road, which I want to take a look at. So that's why we're here. I'm going to get a couple of pictures. So I suppose the question is, how many keepers are there? These are the ones that I think I would be happy to show. Not a massive haul. It's not important though. The main thing was getting out, keeping my eye in, exploring somewhere that I hadn't explored before. And that's the beauty of photography, isn't it? It gets us to go out and do things we wouldn't otherwise do. So thanks to all of you that managed to sit through all the way to the end. Hope it was worth your while. Check in, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. Enjoy what you're shooting, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.